Hi and welcome to my PlayHouse, and today I'm gonna continue with this GPU and server rant that I have going on. We are doing folding at home, which is just an excuse to play with servers and GPUs. We are obviously fighting the coronavirus, or we are decrypting Hillary's emails, or finding Trump's tax return. I don't know, but we're doing something with our computers and servers and GPUs. So I want to show you what I've been up to. Oh yeah, on the folding at home, my PlayHouse team has just entered top 1000 of the best teams or most productive teams after a week of folding at home. So we have been doing good. Here on the table I have a Lenovo x3650 Model 4. This is a newer Lenovo server. And many of these server brands, they weren't really doing much with graphics cards or GPUs as they're called in here. It's like we don't use them for the graphics normally, we use them for the processing power. So instead of a graphics card, it's a GPU, most likely graphic processing unit. So I actually popped that in here. That was not easy because this server is it's the server that died on me. This one had the system board replaced, and I haven't actually been using it for anything since I did that, because an awesome subscriber of mine gave me another one of these and I've been using that instead. So this one has been sitting for quite a bit. It had just one CPU in there. Yeah, I wanted to put a graphics card in there, and the graphics card is meant to sit over here. And to put a graphics card in here, you need to put in CPU number 2. But you can't just put in CPU number 2 without also having CPU number 1. And this server only had one CPU, but I had another pair of CPUs on the shelf out in my data center, so I had to put those in. But yeah, I had to do an awful ninja trick, and I'm embarrassed, but let's go check that out. So I have this off right now because yeah, my bedroom is right in here on the other side of Wally thingy, and this is noisy, so I had it off last night. Plus it was not getting any jobs, so I thought, well, I'll turn it off. The processors in this, they're slow. The processors that came in here was the x3650, and they are very much entry-level CPUs. There is one that is slower. That was the one that I took out of there, because also you need to have two identical processors in a server like this. You can't have one of different sorts. But this one we took out, that's the e5-2903. That's the absolute smallest CPU that you can get for this, and it's a 1.8. It's the 1.806 gigahertz processor. I am sure the 06 is very, very important, but nah, not really. So I will remove power here, and we'll take the GPU up so I can show you my awful ninja trick, because you will see it. Let's put that over here. And underneath this plastic is the CPUs. There. And here is the original CPU cooler. And here is my ninja trick CPU cooler. You might not be able to see the difference very well. Well, you should. But that CPU cooler is not meant to go in here, and it doesn't lock in place. So I can pick it up. And I can see that I need a bit more of CPU coolant in there. The CPU, it's not very powerful, so I'm not expecting it to draw a lot of power. But this CPU cooler came from it's a stock Intel CPU cooler from, I believe, a Pentium 4 at some point. So I took that apart and found out that this would kind of fit right there. And so it's not whole in place, but when I put this plastic on top of it, it's not able to slide anywhere, and the weight of it is holding it down. So it's an awful ninja trick, but I have ordered 2 new CPU coolers for it from Bargain Hardware. So they're coming in next week, and I was not too posh to not use my own coupon code. So if you order anything from Bargain Hardware and add the coupon code or checkout code MyPlayHouse, small letters, on the checkout, well, you get 5% off. Yeah, I did that and it saved me £2. CPU coolers are pretty expensive. These for this server, this one is a 95 watt CPU cooler. I'm sure this is smaller, it's not as great as this one. It feels like it has more metal than this one, but I ordered some in copper that is meant for 135 watts, and they were like £24 a piece. So it's very expensive metal that I'm getting shipped from the UK. So that is my disgusting ninja trick to get this up and running before the coolers come in. It took me a few hours to figure out something. I was trying with some CPU coolers from the Model 2, and they almost fit in here, but not as good as this one. This setup works right now, and I think we'll just pop that in and see it working. I need to find a blinder for that because this server becomes kind of hot. Here is one. It has holes in it, so air will go out that way, but it will reduce the amount of air that will go out without doing any benefits in the back of the server. So let's see if we can persuade that to go in. Looks good. It's very important for the airflow to become right here. In this server, there is nothing in bay number 1, so there is this thing to prevent the air from just going out that way. But with that GPU there, I should probably put a piece of tape over this so more air is forced that way. Put in this GPU, which is not meant to go in a server. It is a gaming CPU, so it's meant for some gaming rack. There is not a lot of space up here for these fans to suck in any air, which will have to come in this way and get moved around. So it's very important to get as much airflow over this way with where the GPU is, and not going from the fans here and just out that way. That's not helpful. So it needs to be over here and go out that way. That would be helpful. There is holes in the end of the GPU here, but this GPU is definitely the wrong kind of GPU for this application, but it is working. I did though run into the issue that when I put the cover on the server, there is a hotspot here, and I kind of put my hand on it, and I removed my hand again because it was uncomfortably hot on the metal on the case right here. I should have boiled some eggs. That would have done a good video. Yeah, let's power this up and just see this running. So I have just attached power to the server. What the server does right now, I haven't powered it on. You see the lights down there, so there is power to the server, and immediately when the server gets power, it boots the IMM, the integrated management module that is in a server like this, where you can control the power on and the power off and get a remote console to a server even if it's off. It boots that. Until that is booted, the server is going to be very noisy when you turn it on, because it does not know what it's doing, it does not know what components it has and stuff like that. So to be sure that everything is cooled, it will blow the fans very hard until the IMM is up and running, and the IMM can see, oh, we have a temperature sensor there, it says this degrees, oh, so we don't have to blow the fans full throttle. So let's try that. It's gonna be noisy. There, the IMM was booted. It was powered for a little bit, and I was talking, so it booted up while we were speaking. Since the last video I did, I got a lot of questions in the comments of what server to use for when you want to put in a GPU. And it depends. If you want to put in a powerful GPU that uses a lot of power, well, you need a server with more power for the GPU. And as I said in the start, the server producers were pretty slow to start putting in GPU capabilities. Here you can kind of see that they made room for it over here in slot number 2, but over here in slot number 1, well, it has to be a very small GPU to fit over there. And this is actually one of the servers where it became easy to put in a GPU. When you look at model number 2 and model number 3, it was possible. You needed to get a new riser with an X16, which I call it the unicorn because it's so hard to find that riser card anywhere. I got one. I searched for it a year before I got that card, and it cost me $100. Actually, it cost me 100 euros, which is even worse. But I got one. Otherwise, you have to cut open the slot of the X8 so that you can have the X16 just stick out the back. The GPU will work. You will lose a little bit of performance, but it's not much by just running X8. It is possible. I have done videos where I do that ninja trick, but the M2 and the M3 has the limitation of only having one 6-pin connection on the system board for a GPU. And as soon as you get up to any kind of just ever so slightly powerful GPU, this is an oldie. It's an AMD Radeon HD 6950, but even this old card, it has two 6-pin connections, which means that, well, you should really have two 6-pin connections to power this, or one 8-pin that you can then convert into two 6-pins. That is okay, but what you cannot do is to take one 6-pin on the motherboard, which is supposed to supply 75 watts, and convert it up to two 6-pins. That's not a great way to go. As soon as you start stressing the GPU, it's gonna run out of power and it might crash the system. So if you have a 6-pin, you can power a 6-pin connector, and that's 75 watts. If you have an 8-pin, you can power 150 watts, and you can convert an 8-pin to a 6-pin or to two 6-pins. That is gonna be okay, but you can't do it the other way around. So here is another really old card, but this one has an 8-pin and a 6-pin, which means that this card needs 75 watts from the X16 down here, 150 watts from the 8-pin, and 75 watts from the 6-pin. In this card, I would expect that you don't have to put in both of them. It might be okay to power it with an 8-pin. I'm not sure that this would use all of that power at the same time. So 75 watts, 75 watts, 150 watts, that's 300 watts. I don't think it uses that much. I don't hope it uses that much, but yeah, rather power inefficient. Okay, Windows is up and running here, and we have our folding program, and that is doing great here. We can kind of see that it has continued on its work with the CPUs, and it got a new job for the GPU over here. Last night I wasn't able to get any job, and it had been waiting for 4 hours, and then I decided I am gonna turn this off so that I can get a good night's sleep. Right now we can see it working on the GPU. Well, this CPU job is gonna earn 1,725 of these pointy thingies. And if we switch over to the GPU, that is gonna, well, that's not gonna add up. It's gonna figure something else out in a little bit. Tends to work on the job a little bit and then figure out, wait, this is way faster than I was expecting. So yeah, I'm gonna get more than 9,405. Oh, and it figured it out. So I'm gonna get 59,495. And it estimates that this GPU is going to be making about 400,000 points a day. GPU is definitely worth it. Compared to that, if we check the CPU, That's gonna make us 26,200 a day for those two Xeon CPUs in there. Both of them are quad cores. We can kind of see them if we go down here. Here we have them. E5-2609, 2.4 gigahertz, quad cores. And I'm pushing them like 80%. I could push them more, but remember that ninja hack of a cooler in there. I don't want to push that too far. So yeah, that's kind of why. The GPU is working in this server. The big problem with GPUs and servers is often passing them through. If the server is a host, if it runs a virtualization environment, passing that GPU through to an VM, that's where it becomes really tricky if you want to use gaming cards like this. If you go ahead and purchase one of the cards that are meant to go in servers, it's a lot easier, but those cards are often like 10 times the price and half the performance. So it's very tempting to go out and purchase a gaming GPU, and one that is not too powerful because you need to power it as well. So I wanted to put this one in, but it's too old, so it's not very compatible. So in total contrast to the last video that I did, well, in this video everything works, but I didn't do much, where in last video I did a whole lot, but nothing worked. So yeah, this is awesome. I am planning to move this server out into the data center, and that is why I'm doing this video right now, and it's ever so slightly easier to film it while it's here. Plus, out in the data center, it's rather noisy right now because there's a couple of hosts out there doing folding at home. So if you haven't joined my folding at home team, you really should. It's doing really well. Last time I counted, there was 202 people on the team. We have done over 130 million points, and we are within the top 0.5% of the teams, and we just entered top 1,000 this morning, and we are still moving strong. So maybe top 100 is not totally unthinkable, but I would probably need your help. I also need your help to like this video. If you're not a subscriber of mine, please subscribe to my channel, and thank you very much for watching. Do subscribe to my channel so that you can see me again, and have a really nice day. Bye bye.